that you're interested, and then you'll get it'll be one line, so one lecture set, one course per line, with a link. So click on the link, and then that'll open up to giving you the details of that lecture set, and the list of lectures, and each lecture has a link, or maybe several lectures, sub-lectures if you like, on a chapter of the textbook. So there'll be at least one lecture, more or less, per chapter. So maybe 10, 20 lectures in a lecture set. Okay. Well, I've mentioned this several times now, that comprehensive coverage, that's the plan. So if you study these lecture sets avidly, and lots of them, you will end up a pretty good, well-educated pure mathematician or mathematical physicist. And you could use these as supplementary lectures to your wage prof lectures if you want. You have that option. Okay, on the other side, raising the bar, as I was saying before. My own local university doesn't even teach topics like quantum field theory. So I can go much higher than that. So you have the option of going to PhD 2, second year PhD level classes. Influencing other free profs. I hope that happens. I hope other free profs do this, something similar in their fields, and so humanity can be given high-level, advanced courses in all fields, so that poor peasants in the third world can educate themselves. Now, talking about that a little, I can give the Chinese example. Chinese population is 1.3 billion people. It's the largest in the world. Today, 2012, there are, I read, about 500 million, so 500 million Chinese who have access to the internet, and about 800 million, so 0.8 billion Chinese have a cell phone. Now, the cell phones are becoming increasingly powerful thanks to Moore's law, the phenomenon that the number of transistors you can cram onto a chip every year keeps doubling, more or less. That phenomenon will eventually, in a couple of years, saturate, in the sense that virtually all Chinese and Indians and so on, the whole planet, will have cheap cell phones which have access to the internet, and those people will then be able to educate themselves. So you can imagine multiple tens of millions of alphas around the world being able to educate themselves at high level, and through that education they will then become middle class, and then they'll push to live in a democracy for those countries that are still not yet democracies. Somewhat backward now, given that about 130 odd countries are already democracies. That's the major historical trend of our political times, is global democratization. Okay. Best way to learn is to teach. That's one of my main motives to giving all these courses, is to teach them, because when you have to teach something, you really have to know it, right? It's a very powerful motivator, as any professor knows. So by recording and teaching many courses, it's a very effective way for me personally to learn this stuff. Okay, so hopefully, potentially, in the future, maybe millions of students. That would be nice. Benefaction, so give to the world. So if you're watching here, if you are a retired professor, let me ask you a question. How do you feel about the idea that all that huge knowledge that you have acquired over your career, your waging period of life, how do you feel about the idea that all that's just going to rot, be lost, if you don't record it and the technological means exist today for you to do that. So how about it? Why don't you do that? Why don't you become a free prof and give your knowledge to the world? You'd be a kind of benefactor to the planet. Help educate the planet. Pull those third $2 a day peasants in their brutal ignorance, pull them out of their ignorance and hence their poverty, to make them rich, middle-class citizens of the world, to become Globans. So I make a personal appeal to you. If you're in that situation, then I suggest, how about becoming a free prof and help the planet and yourself. Okay, last topic here is Khan Academy. Now Khan is, I guess he's in his 30s, I suppose. He's an Indian American, MIT graduate. I think he has a couple of master's degrees. Now the story goes, if I can remember, I saw a little program about him, what he's doing, because it's quite amazing, on America's 60 Minutes, which is a kind of, how would you describe it? Public affairs type program, television program. Anyway, he had a niece who was having trouble with basic algebra. So he used an e-pad, an electronic pad, and voice, and he would write on the e-pad, and that would create a kind of little movie, a little lecturette, about 15 minutes, which he then uploaded to YouTube for his niece to get access to. But then he started getting emails from lots of other people saying, "Oh, very interesting." They're following his lecturettes, his e-pad, electronic pad lectures to his niece. And so as the number of lectures increased, the amount of feedback he was getting increased, and he realised, hey, there's a real need here. So he quit his job. He was working in finance and started doing this stuff full time. And things really changed when he got a contact. He was contacted by Bill Gates, of all people, whose daughter, I think, was following his e-pad lectures. And Bill Gates got intrigued because he could see that his daughter was glued to this stuff. And so he contacted Khan, Salman, I think his personal name is Salman, S-A-L-M-O-N, Salman Khan. And then eventually gave him millions of dollars. So Khan then hired other people to expand what he's doing. Now his aim is to bring, from my perspective, low-level education to the masses, to the planet, to educate the planet, here's the critical two words, for free. Right? It's a radical aim, a revolutionary aim. And so in a sense you could say what Khan is doing for the low end, I'm now starting to do at the high end, right? So so Khan and I are occupying different educational niches, right? So he's the low end and I'm the high end. He's aiming at the general population, I'm aiming at the alphas. The alphas for me are precious. They're a national resource because it's the alphas who drive and push society. They're the inventors, the creators of society, and hence extremely valuable and precious. So I see my niche is to educate for free the alphas around the world in pure math and math physics. I mean, there's so many topics that, of course, there'll need to be hundreds, maybe thousands of free profs doing this kind of thing comprehensively.